Hey there, Goa fans. Mark DJ Solitaire here with episode 37 of Retro Goa Explorations, my weekly series in which I present in each episode one of my favorite tracks from the 90s Goa Trance psychedelic dance movement. We are in my second year of when I was going to these events in Tokyo, 95 to 96. And this track is one that I probably encountered a bit earlier, but that I remember really, in this sort of period that year. It was on a second cassette that Jay made me, Jay from the Odyssey parties that I was going to every 2 weeks. And it was a very different sounding mix that he made. There was a lot more sort of techno-ish kind of stuff. I wasn't really into it at the time, but this track really appealed to me. And it's since become a favorite. And it's quite a different sound, particularly for this project. And so this is Pneumatic by Prana. Prana V1, as I call them, so the first iteration of Prana with Nick Taylor and Tsuyoshi Suzuki. So I asked them a little bit of background about this track. And it turns out that this was the second track that they made at Butterfly Studios, the first one being Mugen, which is also a kind of different sound. So that explains the sort of different sound signature, and I think brings up that reality that back in the day, these artists were using different studios. Like they all had different, composites of, sort of combinations of instruments. And that gave somewhat a unique sort of sound signature. Of course, how they worked with those instruments, somebody else with the same studio, might still sound different because of what they were choosing to do with it. But I think this is really, really interesting. Nick said this was the first time they got their hands on a TB-303, so that became one of the key elements in this track. There's a lot going on here. It's very, very different, I think, from a lot of what we hear in their, on their album, which came out in 96, I remember getting, but several of those tracks were already done in 94 and some through the 95 period. And Pneumatic came out on the first Matsuri single in, I believe it was February 95, and Scarab was on the other side. So Scarab ended up on the Cyclone album, but not Pneumatic. So again, I think it's been a little bit overlooked in a way. It doesn't have sort of the same kind of spacey alien quality that I find a lot of, the tracks, particularly on on the Cyclone album, that tends to have. But I absolutely adore this one. It's really got this like hyperdrive, hyperspace, tunnel vision, sleek, streamlined kind of sound. And the harmonics, again, in terms of the note combinations that they're using, once again, we have the majors, minors, and perfect intervals, right? And there's one that I found that was quite interesting. It goes, has a perfect fifth, which is, there's no major when it comes to fifths and fourths. It's always perfect. It's called perfect fifth, perfect fourth, and minor third sort of combination as those notes dance between each other. And I'm pretty sure there was a minor second in another sort of combination. So there's a lot of really interesting harmonic stuff, rhythmic stuff, all that jazz. So how about I get this track on, listen to the delightful Pneumatic by Prana. So notice that, first of all, the rhythm is like kind of nonstop here. And I just love this kind of, the sounds, first of all, the like water droplet-y kind of things. And then this, again, sounds a little bit like a kind of an alien voice, right? With those note combinations as well. And wonderful hi-hat rhythm and then the kick. That riff, that's total Prana riff. That's really, really distinctive. You know, again, it just sounds like some sort of alien sort of code being sort of beamed down from a satellite. And now this riff is coming in, this lower riff. Just notice how that's getting a little bit louder. Notice that interval and then that emphasis. Again, something we've been noticing in the last few tracks is how several riffs have a rhythm that accent a different note. And then this is something that I think adds that real outer space kind of quality. That's very Prana, but again, the sound signature is quite different. And then that kind of whole otherworldly kind of sound. And then that. And then listen to these notes. And again, very distinctly Prana sound, but again, I think quite different instrumentation from what we're used to at this period. So there's that smooth sound along with that rhythmic. So, you know, again, you get that contrast of textures, something that's smooth, legato, and something that's staccato. It's a very distinctive riff as well. Also reminds me of their track Message from East Edge, or Message to East Edge. Again, just that hypnotic repetition. And then we're going to get a very cool break here with this. Listen to that. And percussion's gonna come in. Remember Tsuyoshi was a drummer. There's also some cool spacey sounds in the background that come in here and there. The hi-hats start doing their thing. Again, that amazing riff. I think it should come in here. Again, it's just like, you know, you're getting bombarded with these messages that sort of contain some information. Rhythm. There's the rhythm of that riff, and then there's that other one that sort of emphasizes the offbeat. Again, there's something so it's both uplifting and inquisitive about that kind of riff. Sort of really defines the energy, I think, of the best music of that time. And the rhythm of that riff too. It's not all on the strong beats. Hear that 303 really going there. That one's a killer. Rhythm with the drums happening there too. And just that, I don't know, it's hard to describe that sound, that sort of glassy, metallic kind of sheen there's that other one working its way in there. All these different sounds and textures and chords. Again, that patterning that just goes down and goes up. Again, I think that's something that's just not nearly done enough nowadays. So sleek. Notice there's that smooth staff, and there's the textured, you know, the 303 with that rhythm, things going up and down. Such a catchy riff. That one note kind of mantra that provides. That's the one that's got the fifth and fourth. Listen how many things are happening at the same time. Unbelievable. It's going to drop out here. Just left with that. Ain't that something? Absolutely phenomenal track, so much ahead of its time. So again, I realize this is really more of a 94, 95 season track. My memory of it comes from a bit later. And, you know, if it was released in early 95, this was done in 94. And I mean, this is really cutting edge in terms of composition, like musical content. There is so much richness going on there. So as I noted, you know, lots of things with different rhythmic patterns, different voicings, things that are going up and down. There's that kind of patterning that we've heard just from the very beginning where it's there's not an actual note on the scale for it, but we can hear sort of the frequency of it goes up and down, which again gives us a sense of relativity when we're on the dance floor, you know, from one moment to the next. And all those different harmonic patterns, right, with all those different intervals of majors, minors, and perfect intervals dancing around. And it just really adds so much, a combination of that uplifting with mysterious and evocative. It's really marvelous track. When it came to the title, Mick couldn't remember exactly, but he thought that, you know, Pneumatic came about just because this is a track that really builds from the tension is coming from the inside, right? So pretty cool one. So there we go, the masterpiece by Prana, Pneumatic, which I will now leave you with to listen to without my talking over it. So I'm Mark, DJ Solitaire. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time. And in the meantime, enjoy once more Pneumatic by Prana.